All right, I'm tired of the stalking, and I should be in my home. I should have a full-time job. But the individuals who are stalking me have cut into it. It has nothing to do with my recording because, like I said, Karen Leonard, and Sylvia participated immediately. The whole thing with the recording, that's a total cover. Karen took my picture on day one and sent it in. My recordings are so I could actually prove the stalking and prove the participation of the employers. That's what the recording is for. But I'm tired of the stalking. It's been going on for years, and like I said, I come to the Cleveland Heights Library. I've been coming here since about 2013, but not as much as I do now. And it's to use the internet. It's to use their computers, their laptop. I have a Mac, but they have the internet, and I could use my hotspot from my phone, but I actually had to just block someone recently because it was hacked. That also. But I'm tired of all of this. I don't want to keep coming to the Cleveland Heights Library just to spend my time. I don't. I should be in my home, on my days off, spending my time, not dragging a cart through the snow or carrying a backpack on my back. I should have my car, and I was making timely payments on my car, and that it was because of the stalking, and my family actually joined in. They brought me down to nothing, and my car was repossessed. That's never happened to me before. I've never had a car be repossessed. I've never had an eviction set against me. That was done by my father after I put my home in my name. I'm not going to say my realtor's name, but she's the one who showed me that house, and I wanted to look at it more than once. After she and I had looked at quite a few, and it was in Highland Heights that I said, okay, this is it. And I made a mistake. I put the house in my father's name. He blocked me from going to the schools that I wanted. I wanted to go from first I wanted to stay in St. Pascal. It was a lot more advanced than Richmond Heights, where he then put me. I then spent my entire high school years trying to get out of Richmond Heights and be put in Notre Dame. So I did things I did was just like, oh my God, but I wanted my parents to get a phone call, to say, your daughter. But I don't know. I don't know if they did or not, but I didn't end up in Notre Dame. I wanted to, I really did. But then, I said, okay, well, when I was out of there, I said, well, now I could, choose my college. And I went, Tri-C used to be, before it went all computer, it used to be a really good community college. And so I went there. Well, first I took data processing accounting in Mayfield Vocational, because Mayfield used to be a really good school. So I took accounting classes there, and that was from the age of 15 to 18. And then I went to Cuyahoga Community College in Highland Hills, Ohio, and I continued with accounting, and that was in 2004. I graduated in 1987, but I worked really hard. So, apartments, the rent, and I never made a payment on the car. I always saved my money to pay cash, and that was including a brand new 1996 Caprice Classic. And so, I had that to spend my money on. I had to, car insurance and rent and um, utility bills, gas for the vehicle. And so when I finally got the money, I went to Tri-C in Highland Hills for accounting. And then after that, uh, when I found my house in Highland Heights, and I had money saved, and I talked it over. I talked about it to my father because I was really, really happy about it. And I shouldn't have talked to him about anything because he really was just a really sick person. The way he treated my mother when she needed him the most um, was really low down, very low down. And his reason was because she didn't have dinner on the table for him when he came home from work back in the 90s. And the reason why is because when they were younger, well, after they were married, she she liked to cook with him in the kitchen, and so she would wait for him to come home because she wanted to cook with him. And so she would act like, oh, well, I don't know what to cook. So you tell me what you want to eat. When really what she was doing is she wanted to cook with him. And they did actually as I was growing up, um, she would laugh so much when she was in the kitchen cooking with him. I think that was like her happiest time. Um, and but then that stopped. That stopped when she started gaining weight after her fourth child. My mother was hypothyroid, and her everything changed. Her body changed, and so he started to treat her differently. He started calling her fat, and why I then shared anything with him was so stupid, but I did. I was an idiot. I was an idiot because I saw myself going in the direction that I had planned. I had planned for years and years and years. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona. Um, I was 25 years old when I moved there. Um, while I was there, I was put in a management position in a restaurant, and um, I said, I that's I love the restaurant industry, and I said to myself, I want my own, and that's when I started to plan and save, and I made the floor plan, how many employees, how much I was going to pay, the menu, um, and in 2016, I said, you know what? I'm going. I'm doing this. This is really going to happen. And I wanted to I went to in 2000 spring of 2016 I went to Kent State University for accounting and college writing. I also took algebra and communication. Communication was a core class, and he became livid when I gave a speech on capitalism. So I said, okay, this isn't the class for me. So I withdrew from that class. I also took a fourth class, which was algebra. And I loved eighth grade algebra. I was an A plus. I absolutely loved it. Um, and when I was in college algebra, I said, okay, I said, you know what? I loved algebra when I was a little girl. I said, so I just need you to just start with the with how this grows, how this college algebra grows from the 8th grade algebra, because this is what I was taught in 8th grade. He goes, I can't, I don't know. And, oh, well, the time had already passed for me to withdraw from a class, but I said no, I'm not staying in this class. Maybe I just need a different instructor. Well, I was past the allowed time to withdraw. And if I withdrew, I would just receive an automatic D. And I said, that's fine. You know what? Because I'll just retake the class with a different instructor. All right. But I had saved money, and the money was going to go towards the house in Highland Heights. And my father said, you know what? Save the money for school and put the house in my name. Because I also told him, well, I'm also going to get a loan. I said, I'm going to get a college loan also, you know, for what I can't pay for, and I could then make payments. So after I put the house in his name, oh my God, I just can't believe I did this. He then said, you know, because the loan, the house wouldn't show up on the loan. I would just pay the mortgage. And then he offered to pay the mortgage, and I would pay for the school. And I was so blinded by being so close to achieving my goals, knowing who he was. I just can't, you know, it was like being in a trance of loving my life so much. And you saw it. I mean, my health, and it's like I looked amazing. My weight was at 140. I've never ever been at that weight before, and I looked really good. My mother was put in the nursing facilities, and I was a wreck. I was a mess. It grew to the size of a golf ball, and she was fine when she was in the Elm building, and then she started to be abused by a male nurse in the Fur building. He wouldn't remove her. Kept saying she's fine, and he kept going to Italy. So now our discussions are becoming very heated, and he then offered to even pay for school. He was putting her stuff at the front door to get rid of it. Well, I wanted her things. I wanted to split everything among the siblings, and I actually started doing that in my house in Highland Heights. And then I was just going to bring it to him. Look, you guys, you decide. You know, just hold on to it. It's whatever you guys decide to do. Once I drop this off, it's up to you. But I was in my house in Highland Heights. I have my grandmother's things too, and I spent my summers with her. So I had all this stuff, and I knew exactly how I was going to do it. A lot of it I was even going to have in my little cafe. So I had it. It was I had everything planned so perfectly. And then in regards to my cats, I had so much food and cat litter. The cat litter boxes, I piled them up in like little steps, and then they would lay on them, like their little towers. In addition, and I had that in their cat litter room piled up. I had the carpet on one side, the concrete on the other, litter box pads underneath the litter boxes, and then their litter box towers. I had about 50 litter boxes at a time. I want you to remember this, because I was brought down to nothing. I was brought down to then rinsing their litter boxes outside and having them dry in the cold outside, and having to do all of that, and then even having to compromise and even put dirt in the litter boxes as their cat litter, because that's what my father and brother in Cuyahoga County did. Um, and my father then, I'm going to get back to everything connects. So I'm jumping, from one thought to the next to bring it back all together. But my father then offered to pay for the school. Let me pay for the school. Because how many classes do you want to take? And I showed him the book and my spreadsheet that I had made. It showed the exact dates, classes, and teachers that I wanted, professors that I wanted. And wow. He said, well, no, let me pay for it. He said, I'm the father, I'll pay for it. You got to think back to how he wouldn't even let me stay in St. Pascal because he didn't want to pay for the uniforms. And he spent the whole time of me in Richmond Heights, me trying to get, and I didn't do anything. I just was, it was like, yeah, and I just can't believe it. I stayed there, but after that, I really, looking back, what a mistake I made. And my gut was telling me, don't do this. Don't, no. But I did. So he paid for the college, the accounting and the English classes. And then he paid for the mortgage. I put my home in his name. He was paying for the mortgage, and I was and I had the whole thing planned. I was I thought, well, I'm now gonna save the money for my remaining classes, and I was spoiling my cats and my dogs. My dogs, I wanted to find them homes, except for Francesca. Junie was left in a home, in a foreclosed home. I really wanted to find her a home. She was a really good dog, and Frankie was terrified of the rain and the clouds. Vet told me he could feel the barometric pressure. So I needed to work with him and then find him a home. Francesca was badly abused, and so I was going to hold on to her. She was about maybe 12 or 13. She was badly abused. So the worst thing that these people could have done was to cause me a loss of income and enjoy it, to really plan it. And 1 year before it actually occurred, Michael Calabrese of 615 Bishop Road in Highland Heights, Ohio, it's public record, said to me, we're going to take all your money, your cats and dogs, leave you penniless and living in your car. That's what happened. One employer participated after another. But it had been going on already. Someone was actually setting up my whereabouts being tracked through a detective or something. I reported HPL Stampings Incorporated for their theft of customers' credits. I reported that to the FBI. I also told my mother to divorce my father because of his treatment towards her. And then it started. So it could have been the FBI. Who knows? Could have been my father. Saying, just track this bitch. Or I want to know where she is, because I was very independent. I moved out of state twice. And, I was the first one to actually move out, period. I was 21 years old. So yeah, yeah. So now here I am, and I'm in I come to the library for the internet. I'm tired of that. I mean, I shouldn't have to do that. I should be in my home. The stalking has not stopped, and it isn't going to stop. And the only one who has the power to stop it. And it's been going on for 21 years. My face is swollen. And I don't know why. My chin is swollen, my cheeks are swollen, my thyroid is back to that golf ball. And this has been for a while. It could be from an infection, or it could be from the thyroid. I don't know. And I went to the internist, Dr. Donka, University Hospitals. Simple. Test my blood. The T3 and T4 are really important and related. And she didn't test for them. Especially the T3. That is such an important test. She didn't. I had a biopsy for my thyroid. He dug into that thing. It was like the worst biopsy. I had one time before. And it was terrible. 30 days later, I get a phone call that I have a 50% possibility of cancer. 30 days. And then another 30 days for them to send me a molecule test to take it home. Well, that molecule test was my biopsy. That's what he should have done. So the whole thing is just, my grandmother said doctors were a joke, and she was right. They're a joke. You know, I don't have my kitchen. I can make all my homemade stuff. I'm tired of it. I'm not doing it anymore.